I'm here today with Kanayo from Sinnergy, and we're going to be talking about how you can automate the processes in your practice using a robot. So hello.
Hi everyone.
Hello, and I can't wait to get started. Let Kanayo share with you how you can use robots to automate your practice. Go!
First, I'd like to check. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me, Simon?
I can hear you, and we can see the slides. Yeah.
Hi, Simon.
Oh, I can hear you and see the slides. Can you hear me? Hello. Oh, you're frozen on my screen there. Can anybody else? Can you? Oh, there you go. Got you again.
Good.
Got you again there. Got you again. I couldn't hear you then, but I can see the slides and I can see you and hear you now. I'm just going to make a telephone call and I'll be back. Oh, here we go. Yeah, we got problems this end with the internet. Oh, can I? Well, we're thinking so. Let me just. Oh, there you go. Back again. Hello. I can see you again there.
Oh, good.
Excellent. And I can hear you too. Just can't see.
You can hear me.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, we can hear you. And see you. Can't see the slides.
Let's try it again.
Perfect. There we go. Yeah, I can see you here. We'll just edit that bit out. Yeah, so right. Nobody else sees it. It's all right. It's not live. Right. So okay. Brilliant. Go. Right.
Morning. Morning, everyone. And hello. Thanks again, Simon, for having me on for the opportunity to be with you today. Today we're going to be looking at how to grow your accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll services using software robots, like Simon said earlier. Just as a bit of introduction, Sinnergy, we're an automation company, and we help businesses to leverage digital technologies like RPA, or robotic process automation, to increase team productivity, increase business capacity, and help firm owners to easily scale their practice. And my name is Kanayo Eruchalu, and I lead the client success team here at Sinnergy. One of my primary responsibilities is to share information like this with our practice communities. So like I said, we're going to be looking at how an average accounting practice can double their accounting, bookkeeping, payroll services, book of business by deploying software robots. Now, some of the questions that Sam has asked me to cover during the session include how much the software or the service cost, whether it's affordable for a small practice, what are the best practices, processes to start with, what is the cost matrix, length of commitment, how it works, and all that. So lots of very good questions, and I hope in the next few slides I should be able to cover a lot of that. So let's get started. First off, start by looking at one of what we perceive to be one of the biggest problems holding accounting practices back, and that is manual repetitive tasks. Now, according to research, accounting and bookkeeping practices end up spending about 70% of their time doing manual repetitive tasks in applications that you can see on the screen. So it could be Excel, which is Office 365, part of Office 365. It could be in MoneySoft or BrightPay, could be Xero, QuickBooks, and all the rest. Now, what they spend their time doing in those activities, so that 70% is spent doing performing tasks like scraping data from a website, copying and pasting data from one source to another source, from, as an example, Excel into Xero. It could be filling out forms, it could be collating information that comes through by email. It could be opening an email just to download attachments that go into pre-accounting or accounting systems or payroll systems. But essentially, all these activities, they have a negative impact on most organizations, be they big or small. Now, if you think about your business for a second, I'd like to think about your business for a second and pop in the chat box which of these impacts manual repetitive tasks could be having on your practice. Now, from our again, from our experience, we find that a lot of businesses have this kind of challenges. So these manual repetitive tasks could translate to a reduction in productivity. It could result in heavy reliance on outsourcing in a lot of cases, because as your business grows, you're going to need more and more people to be able to even keep the lights on, do basic tasks, which in itself increases the labor cost to the business, right? You find that a lot of people, there are a lot of data entry errors, just because, being humans, no matter how careful we are, if we do the same task repetitively, right, we will have at least 10% of the time we're making mistakes. So if you have a task that involves 100 steps, you probably find that there are 10 steps that you've missed, depending on how many times you do it. Now, it could be inconsistent processes. So if you have 5 people in the business, they probably do the same task in 5 different ways, right? So there's no one way of doing things. And we find out a lot when we start engaging with some of our clients, and we're asking them, how do you do things? It depends on who we're speaking with. And so they haven't got a consistent approach or consistent way of performing any particular task. So those are some of the challenges with manual tasks, and it occurs everywhere, but more so within the digital space. Okay. So what we are looking at, the question is, how can we quickly and easily fix the challenges or the impacts of this manual repetitive tasks on accounting practices such as yours? And one way that we found is by deploying software robots. Now, in case you're wondering what a software robot is, in a nutshell, it's a computer program that is taught or is programmed to perform structured and repetitive processes on a desktop or laptop computer, using a keyboard or using mouse clicks and keystrokes, right? So the usual thing, so in a nutshell, is if there's anything that you can do on a desktop or laptop computer following structured steps, right? And by using keyboard and mouse strokes, we can train a computer program to do exactly that, right? Now, these software robots can work with all existing accounting, payroll applications. It cuts across not just accounting. From our research, we find that accounting and bookkeeping practices spend 70% of their time doing manual repetitive tasks in these applications every month, and that could be in form of things like opening emails and attachments. It could be downloading or uploading files and folders, copying and pasting data from maybe Excel into Zero or into MoneySoft, as the case may be. It could be collating data that comes in via email and then transferring it into something else. But generally speaking, it tends to be following if-then rules. So if this is available, then do this and do that and do the other to complete a task. And from experience, we know that these manual repetitive tasks have a negative impact on all organizations, whether they are small, medium, or large. It doesn't really matter, because you end up spending a lot of time doing very low level, low value work, right? So if you think about your business for a second, you realize that you get all sorts of impacts in the business, right? So you have reduced productivity, you have inability to easily scale your operations, because each time, the more you're getting clients in, the more people that you need to be able to do some of the low level work so that you can do higher value work for clients, right? And this increases labor cost in the business. It reduces the business's ability to be elastic. So you have peaks, taxes as an example, where you have a whole lot to do, and then you have to pile on, get people in to help you do that. And as soon as tax season is over, you have to either let them go or they haven't got much to do for the rest of the period. So these are some of the things that manual repetitive tasks or the impact it has on businesses. And the question we're asking is, how can we easily and quickly fix that? And so one of the ways, like I said, one of the ways that we found is by deploying software robots. And in case you're wondering what a software robot is, they're computer programs that automate any structured repetitive tasks that you can do using a mouse or a keyboard in any business application on a desktop or laptop computer, right? Now, they can work with all existing applications, but generally speaking, they end up freeing up your time for manual routine tasks so that you can focus on those ones that actually require you to use your human judgment, right? And enables your employees to dedicate more time and attention to value add tasks for you and your clients, right? Now, we find that some of the best use cases are the ones that I have for an accounting, bookkeeping, or payroll services firm are the ones that I have on the screen. So the usuals will be reconciling business bank accounts in QuickBooks or Xero or any other accounting application. It will be filing, updating employee records, and then submitting RTI-FPS to HMRC, distributing payslips, downloading or distributing P30s, as the case may be in Sage, Moneysoft, and all the rest. In some cases, it could be journal entries. It could be preparing reports. Now, really and truly, anything that has a structured approach to delivering it or completing the task, we can a software robot can be programmed or can be built that can do that task, and help their human colleagues, right? So what are some of the benefits that we're finding in industry as well? And these are some of the ones that easily come to mind. It's reducing manual processing. Now, in some cases, on average, it's about 30 to 50%, but in some cases, it's as much as 90%. And our case in point will be submit payroll-related tasks, which are very structured. So once you go into an example, the Moneysoft, once you go into Moneysoft and you're having to click buttons to file a return to HMRC, or click buttons to email a report, or click buttons to download files and type things in, we're seeing as much as 90 to 95% automation using software robots. And increase in staff productivity is another benefit that comes from having robots do some of the work. In some cases, 35 to 50%. In some other cases, because robots can work 24/7, 365, you find that there's no limit on, the only limit you have is on what you can do within a 24-hour period. So you haven't got to contend with just a 9 to 5, 8-hour shift. You can do 24-hour shifts using a robot, which means that you can actually people what you're doing as long as you can assign the right tasks to work, right? As the business grows, you don't need to have as many people in. So there's that cost reduction that comes, or cost savings that comes as a result. And then a few other bits and bobs in there, as we can see on the screen. I don't want to read everything out, right? Now, other, maybe not non-tangible, but still measurable. So it helps you to drive value and profits. It makes the business a bit more elastic as you get to, if you have tax season is coming as an example, and you need to get a lot more done, you can add a few more robots in to do the work. It doesn't cost as much. And then as soon as those pressure points or pressure periods are gone, you can downscale again and go back to your normal processing capacity, right? And then it helps with finding that it helps businesses to understand, gain insight into how they run their processes and where the opportunities are really to optimize how they do things, which is a bit surprising. But yeah, that's some of the benefits as well that the more you think about your process, once you can raise your head, you can now start looking at how else you can optimize what you're doing. All right. So I'd like to very quickly give us a case study, because that will bring it to life in terms of how it can help a business to save time, save money, increase productivity. So we have a fictional Joe. Now, Joe is based off of a true life character, but his name is not Joe. He owns an accounting practice, let's say in London, focused on manufacturing and e-commerce. Right now, since the onset of the pandemic 2020, he's found that he's getting busier and busier. So his business has been growing about 5% month to month. Currently has about 700 bookkeeping, 700 clients, put it that way, and he has a team of about 15, right? Because of the way the business is growing and what he needs to prepare for his clients, he needs more people to come in and help. But there's an active shortage in the industry, right? So spoke with Joe and advised him to augment his workforce with a software robot. And these are some of the results that we got. Right now, remember, Joe has about 700 at the moment. Now, we picked two cases: bank reconciliation, which we found could be standardized up to 40-50%, and we have payroll, which could be standardized to 90%. Right, and these are some of the numbers. There's about 320 transactions a month, 30 seconds to complete on average. On the payroll side, about 3 employees per, and it takes about 5 minutes to complete things like RTS submission, employee payslip, and all that. Okay. Now, by deploying a software robot, these are some of the time savings that Joe was able to achieve. Right. So we're looking at about 933 hours in time savings on bank reconciliation. So he has about 700, they do 320, about 933 on the payroll side, about 52 hours, right? In all, Joe's looking at about 985 hours per month time savings or productivity gain by introducing a robot. Okay. Now, that means that the way he stands at the moment, he doesn't need to get 6 additional employees or full-time equivalents to be able to cover the work that needs to be done. Now, remember, this is not everything within the organization, but these are the bits that are manual repetitive that the bot can actually do. Okay, so that's a lot of hours, and I'll take questions at the end around that. All right. So, but in case you're wondering, let's look under the hood. In case you're wondering how software robots actually work, we have a couple of use cases that we're actually going to simulate. So, in the next few slides, I'm going to show us, the first one will be bank reconciliation. And if you think about the typical bank reconciliation scenario, you have a person log into Xero, select a business account on the dashboard for a particular client, and then they will reconcile using set rules. So some of the ones that are manual and repetitive and things that have bank rules against them. So they have an apply rule in Xero. The ones that are green matched by Xero. So Xero has looked at it and has suggested that it thinks this is a match. And then all you have to do is to validate or verify and click OK. And then you have scenarios where there's a payment reference, which is a unique identifier. You do find a match as it were in Xero, do a search in Xero using the payment reference. And if it returns a result, you select it and click on reconcile. Very standard and straight through process. Okay. Now, for everything else, you have to refer it back to the client to either submit documents, or have to go to the likes of DEX or auto entry to carry out some more activities before you can complete the task. And you repeat the same process for all the bank business accounts belonging to a particular client, and then for all clients within that you have oversight for. All right. So all that has been programmed into the robot that we're going to look at, and we're going to see the robot do exactly what I've just described. So sit back and relax. So at the click of a button, so what you're going to see me click a button. So this is really the robot's assistant. This is the tool that we use. You click on the button to run the bot. And what you should see happen next is the bot, like you and I would open Google Chrome. It will navigate to zero login. It will log in using its own credentials, email, and password. It will navigate to the client organization, go to dashboard, select a business bank account, and start running the reconciliation exercise, right? So if you remember the rules, if it's green marked, and if it's green marked, no option, click OK. If it's green marked and has one or more options, ignore it, because it means that we need to look at it in more detail. If it has an apply rule, which means it's bank ruled by us, click OK. And everything else, ignore. Once you're done, do a find a match using payment reference. If you find anything, any transaction in there that matches, then click on reconcile. So that's what's happening. And while that's happening, Simon, is it okay for me to take any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question from Aaron. Does the robot need its own machine to use, or can a user work on the same machine while the robot works?
So the robot doesn't need to have his own machine. It can share a PC with someone. However, it's back in the day when we used to have I don't know if I'm showing my age now, but back in the day when we used to have computer sharing, so desktop sharing, where I'll probably have it assigned to me for 2 hours or 3 hours, and then someone else has it for a different period. So that is a similar approach, because the robot and myself can work on the PC at the same time. So the robot uses the same resources. So remember, it's mouse clicks and keystroke. So if you're trying to work while the robot is working, it's either you get frustrated or the robot gets frustrated. Don't know if that answers the question.
Right. So basically it's possible, but it's dependent on the processing power of the PC for you to basically to have two people working on it at the same time.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then Howard's asked, how does the robot log into Xero without two steps? So if two-step authentication is enabled, how does it work then?
So two-factor authentication, if it's enabled, then what happens is the bot will send an email to a human colleague to log into his machine and put in the complete two-factor authentication. So what we advise clients to do is, so anytime it comes up, the robot sends it, and then someone goes in and sets it for 30 days. So 30 days, it hasn't got to do that again.
Okay, so it's basically you the first time that you do it, you need to do it on behalf of the robot, and then after that, because you've authorized it for 30 days or whatever, it will do it automatically. Yeah.
Yes. So it wouldn't come up for 30 days, and then. But you know the way Xero works is every 30 days you have to authenticate.
Yeah, I try to stay away from Xero as much as possible, so I'll take your word for that. And then with John, John's asked, and I don't know who Bookkeeper is, but John's asked, how is this different from Bookkeeper?
Interesting question. So Bookkeeper is for your sake, Simon. So Bookkeeper is a platform, is an American-based platform that you can use for transaction categorization and a few other bits and bobs. So this is different from Bookkeeper in a number of ways. One, Bookkeeper focuses predominantly on things like bank reconciliation and transaction categorization, whereas software robots are a bit more versatile. So give you an example. So for Bookkeeper, essentially you can connect your Xero and you can connect QuickBooks, but that's really the two use cases that you've got, right? Whereas for a standard robot like this, you can work in Xero, you can work in QuickBooks or Free Agent, just doing bank reconciliation. You can do journals. You can equally use the same robot to do payroll, which is the next use case we're going to look at shortly. So it's a lot more versatile than what you find with Bookkeeper.
Okay, thank you. And then Edith's asked, what is the benefit of using this service over something like Zapier? I can see the benefit for desktop-based applications, but not sure what the benefit is for cloud-based applications. Now, I think you've just answered that question with the demonstration. So if you've got a subsequent question or you want to re-ask that question because I've misunderstood it, then please do. So they're all the questions that I've got in the pipeline at the moment.
No worries. Thanks a lot, Simon. All right. So we the next use case I wanted us to look at is a payroll task in MoneySoft. Right. So if for those that are familiar with MoneySoft, you know that every month, and this cuts across payroll, every month you have to do RTI returns to HMRC. In some cases, you have to email those reports to your clients, the employers. You have to send the pay slip to the employees or store it somewhere that they can access, as the case may be. But if you're losing money, so typically that's what you do. You do P30s on behalf of your clients' employees. So what I wanted to show us is how, again, if you're using MoneySoft. So remember, all this is about what do you do, what application do you use, and how do you use it. It pretty much can be tailored to how you work, as long as you have it structured. There's a stepwise approach to it, and you understand what the rules behind how you perform a task are. Right. So without wasting further time. So again, similar to the last use case, you'll see me open the application, which is this one, which is happening at the moment, and then click a button to start the bot, and then you should see the bot, do what it does best. It will open MoneySoft, and it will perform the task, all the tasks that I mentioned earlier for a couple of clients, right? So everything is happening now. Is the bot is open for a particular client organization, is selected all the employees. They have about 4 employees in this particular case. And then is about to do the RTI submission, So again, if there are any questions, Simon, regarding this particular use case or any use case at all, I'm happy to take it.
Yeah, no, I've got no further questions in the Q&A box, or David's just sneaked in the chat box. David's asked, was the bank rec example using a bot? Reason for the question is, by the time I've taken to log into the bot, it could have done that quicker. I mean, ticking the OK buttons with no thought is required as a very quick manual process. Maybe different question, but there isn't a lot of time saving. Then it would be cheaper to offshore at lower labour rates. That's a really interesting question, David. Do you want to do you want to just talk into that? Because it's a challenge that I've had internally as well.
Yes. So yes, the beauty of the bot is not in the. So I know it's a simple case that you just explained, but if you think about it, right? One is the best use of the bot is for high volume manual repetitive tasks. So back reconciliation, you're clicking OK button. So yes, if you have 2 or 3 transactions to reconcile that you should click OK button for, then that's fine. You don't need a bot for that. Not really. But if you had as was in the case study, if you had 100 clients and each client on average had 300 transactions in a month to reconcile, right? That's very easily 30,000 transactions. Now, even if all it takes you is 15 seconds to do it, right? You find that sucks up a lot of your time. So it's a huge time sink, which is what this is all about. This is about saving time for the person. The person that is clicking that button could be doing something else that's higher value. And I hear what you're saying about offshoring the process, right? And I can almost assure you that for this particular task, you find that the cost savings on it will be better than what you find with offshoring. And we can look at some of the numbers later. I don't know if that answers the question, though, but
I think so, and it's a really interesting question. So when I see the numbers that you just presented a moment ago with a £9,000 a month saving. As an accountant, I wanted to dive into those numbers, and whilst you've been talking, I've just been playing with some for Greenstone. So I've knocked all of those numbers back. So we've got 50 bookkeeping clients, and I've basically said on average they've got 60 transactions a month. I think it was a bit low at half. I think if we've got the bank rules and whatnot set up, we could probably get up to three quarters. And very simply, if I said I was paying £15 an hour for somebody to do that, and I know you've got the debate about offshoring and what the actual cost is, but you've also, with offshoring and outsourcing, you've got the management of that. Whereas my understanding is once the bot is set up, the bot will just run itself and it will do it overnight, so it's ready in the morning and all that sort of stuff. I just, on a very rough back of a fact packet, I reckon we do £750 worth of savings a month at Greenstones, being very conservative. So I was doing 20 seconds of transaction saving rather than 30 seconds and that sort of stuff. But it'd be a really interesting process to go through, Dave, and analyze that and see where it was. The other thing is, there obviously there's a monotonous aspect to, especially on the bank rec, a monotonous aspect to it, and that work is not overly rewarding. So it'd be really interesting to see how those numbers flow through. Okay,
absolutely.
And then Ben has said, rather than a bot clicking through the OK buttons, we have built a bot internally that uses the cash coding screen instead. Okay, not sure I quite understand that, Ben, but that might be a really interesting conversation to have with Kanayo to see how that is. Edith said, I've done tests on this and have even basic technology automation cut the time significantly compared to the manual processing. Yeah. John says you still have to manage the offshore staff, plus they get bored soon doing the repetitive tasks. Almost we're in Sinnergy, John. Mark said, you don't have the HR issues with a bot, i.e. they don't need holiday, etc. And then Edith's added, saving email invoices was one of the biggest time saving. Yeah. And that's where it really, when I first saw it, that's where it blew my mind. And I know we've looked at bank rec and we've looked at Moneysoft and the payroll, but there are so many different things that we do, certainly within Greenstones, where it's the same thing every day or the same thing every week, where for me, they could be automated overnight. And I know certainly we're going to be having a play with it to see how we can make it work. But yeah, they're all the questions and observations as they're there at the moment. I suppose the next thing is how much is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So how do I get started is probably, and how much is it, like you said, Simon?
Perfect. Yeah.
All right. So starting is easy. So one of the biggest challenge with robotic process automation and rolling out software robots has always been the fact that traditional model requires you to pay a consultant or to develop the bot and then hand it over to you, and then you have to keep managing it. Now, in that model, you have to think about, the consultations, the analysis, the design, the implementation, delivery takes about 10 to 20 weeks and all that. And then afterwards, you either sign another contract for maintaining the bot, because it's technology. And like any other piece of technology, piece of kit, you still need to maintain it. Right. And that all adds up to a whole lot of money. So what we've done, and which is where we're slightly different from what's available in the market, is that we've taken that whole bit and we've turned it into a service. So for a fixed price every month, you get the whole shebang, right? So we will design, we'll work with the client, understand how what their different use cases are, what would deliver the most bang for their buck, and then on the back of that, we'll roll it out on their behalf, and then we'll keep maintaining it, right? So no upfront cost, and I think more importantly, you get 60 days to try it. So all the risk is on us. If it doesn't work, we decommission it. It's very easy to decommission. We can have the first bot up and running inside of 3 weeks, right? If it's one of the ones that we have already for the trial, usually will be ready in about 2 weeks, right? We provide full robot maintenance. If it needs changing, if your needs change and you need to either scale up or scale down, we'll handle that, no additional cost. If you don't need the robot for whatever reason, because for whatever, I can't imagine what it is, but for whatever reason, inside of 24 hours, the robot can be decommissioned. You haven't got to worry about having in-house RPA skills and all that. Okay, so that's what robot as a service is, and that's what we provide in Sinnergy, right? And just talking a little bit more about the risk-free 60-day trial. Now, we're knowing that it's hard to, if you haven't come across it before, it sounds too good to be true in some cases. So say, don't worry about it. We will pick a process. Yeah. So within Xero, QuickBooks, MoneySoft, and BrightPay, which are the easiest ones to show value with, we will build a robot based on how you do it, or we can again advise based on our experience on how best we think good practices that we found, and then we can have that ready and rolled out for any firm, and they can use it for 60 days, right? If within 60 days the promised productivity increase is not there, it's on us. We will decommission it, like I said, no fuss, no quibbles, right? The whole idea is for it to be absolutely risk-free to our clients. We'll back ourselves, pretty much, is how I like to think of it. If it makes sense, this is the process that we'll go through. We will look at having that discovery session, understand what it is, we'll define the workflows, we'll spend time building, testing, and deploying it, and then we'll, like I said, we'll maintain it, and then it's yours to use, absolutely free for 60 days. One of the questions, so you asked the question around the pricing, didn't you, Simon? There was a question around pricing, so give me 1 second.
Yeah, go on, sorry.
Yeah, let me stop sharing for a bit so that I can get that slide up. So, right. Let me know if you can you see my screen, Simon?
I can, yeah, thank you.
Good. So again, affordability is a key metric for us, and we want universal adoption. We believe that every accounting, bookkeeping, or payroll service firm needs to have one. So we've created a model that enables any size practice to have a robot, right? Not just the big firms or the medium-sized ones, but any size practice. So package, the highest package that we have is £1,000 a month, and it starts at the lowest package is £150 a month, right? And that's unlimited number of clients. And with that, you can have unlimited processes. But it's the transaction. So the size is typically based on transaction volumes that the practice or the firm has or runs, right? And then it goes, like I said, all the way up to £1,000 a month. We think that by the time you get to £1,000 a month, you're probably a very huge practice. You're running tens of thousands of transactions a month. You never have to worry because the fees are very fixed fees. So after that 20,000, you're looking at about 5p a month for any additional transaction. Now, so back to that question of outsourcing or offshoring, you find that on average, even if you're offshoring, you're probably looking at something in the region of 20 to 40, in some cases 50p transaction. So we've modeled that against that, but we want to make it, very cost effective for businesses. All right. So don't know if you have any questions around that, Simon.
Yeah, there's a couple. So just to be clear about it, a transaction is something that sorry, I've not turned The transaction is something that the bot does. So if it presses OK on a bank reconciliation, does that count as a transaction?
That is a transaction, yes.
Okay. But when you was uploading the documents into MoneySoft, for example, or if we was emailing out of BrightPay, what's the transaction in that process? Is it each step? Is that a transaction, or is the whole process the transaction?
So the whole process is a transaction.
Okay. And then is there a minimum period? So I say it's £500 for the setup, and then obviously the per monthly figure. But do we have to commit? Obviously, you've got 60 days to trial it and decide not to do it if you want to. But after those 60 days, is it a 6 month, 12 month, 3-year minimum period commitment?
So we usually will say 6 months, but after that is a rolling 1 month, rolling monthly contract or agreement, really, so a contract. Now, in all of that, if for whatever reason you find that is not meeting up to your expectation, you're not bound to even continue using it. So for us, we measure, because we have monthly reviews with our clients just to understand where they are and what they're looking to do. We find that most times it's not even called for. So there's no contract per se. We would say we'll need about 6 months just because of the time frame that we put into building it. But even that is not fully enforced. If someone is not happy, we would like to address it, and if you can't address it, we don't want you to.
You wouldn't want them as a customer. Okay, so basically, it's 30 days is the long and short of it. Thank you. Jenny's asked, do you need a robot for each client? So, for example, with MoneySoft, could you have one robot to run all client payroll payslips?
That's an easy one. Yes.
Excellent.
Just one robot.
So
we have a number of clients on that, and they have the biggest one at the moment has about 800 clients and the one robot.
Thank
you.
You.
It does the task inside of 30 hours.
Thank you. And then Jazz has asked, and I'm going to appraise your question, Jazz. Jazz has asked about price increases or potential price increases, because a number of software providers to the profession have, in recent history, and in one case, they've doubled the prices that they're charging to customers. So they've built a customer base, and then they've increased their prices to recover the losses that they're making on setup. So have we got any commitment or guarantees around these prices and for a period going forward, Kanayo?
So our prices are not likely to increase over the next 1 to 2 years. So as you see, so because what we've done is more subscription based. So what you tend to find is that as you use it and as you're adding more things, you're probably more likely to go from one plan to another than stick to. So we're looking for growing firms, and we expect that over time you're going to need more of it as you get the value from it. So short answer is there are no price increases planned for the next 12 to 18 months.
Thank you.
But the world is the world. So inflation happens, things change,
Yeah, the world is the world. Yeah. David has asked, how smart is the bot? E.g., are they similar to the artificial intelligence that is used on Dext, who suggests codes and VAT codes and things like that? Or is it just simple tasks? Does it just basically it does what you tell it to do?
So the bot will do what you tell it to do. There's some level of intelligence. It's not AI. So if you're thinking artificial intelligence, they are related, but they're not exactly the same thing. If over time through machine learning, the bot will get better. So as you understand the process a bit better, we can train the bot to do things slightly differently. We can introduce intelligence to it, but it's not the level of intelligence is not that of an AI tool. So it's not an AI tool. This is more about volume, repetitive tasks.
Thank you. And the way I sort of when you first showed me this, the way I described it was a macro in Excel. So you basically tell it what to do, and the bot does what you tell it and doesn't do so by exception, obviously, if you tell it not to hit OK if the dates are wrong or whatever, so you basically set the parameters and it works within those parameters. It doesn't think about intelligently think about how to change those parameters. So it's not got any at all. Brilliant. Thank you. John's asked, why is the minimum period 6 months?
Because so the minimum period is 6 months. One, because it takes a while to fully get so we're looking at you getting the value from it, right? So some people will come into the process and they won't give it enough time to realize the value and they exit, but like I said, it's what we recommend is 6 months, but you're not duty bound to stay we haven't got a contract that says you must stay there or there's a penalty. It's just an agreement. We recommend that you stay for 6 months, but it's a monthly, so it's still a monthly subscription, just that we recommend 6 months.
Yeah, it's very much like from an accountant's mastermind point of view. If anybody joins the full mastermind groups, there's no minimum period at all with that. They can come for a month and they can leave after a month if they want. But we always say, in order to get an experience and to make it work, ideally you need to be a member for 6 to 12 months in order to get some progress and some traction. But we would never hold anybody to that, because a bit like you just said earlier, we don't want customers paying us for things that they don't want and they don't value. It's a fruitless exercise. John's asked for a bit more clarification on what counts as a transaction for payroll processing. So can you just give John or give us a little bit more clarity around that? What counts as a transaction on the payroll?
Okay, so probably the best thing, let me go back a few slides to the example that I shared. Can you see my slide?
I can, yeah.
All right. So there are four things in here, right? Now, that is what it takes to complete one transaction. This is one transaction. So they're not each in transactions. Now, so we have return RTI, FPS to HMRC, email payslip, and download P30 for each employee. So these are all components of one transaction. So we don't treat each of them a transaction, if that makes sense.
Okay, so they're not so if the bot did all four of those things on a payroll client, that would count as one transaction, not 4 transactions.
Not 4 transactions, yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, my understanding, and you was breaking up a little bit there, so I'm not quite sure your Wi-Fi works with a screen share and and the video, but my understanding is there's an offer to the community, and also how do people get in touch with you? If they want to take it forward?
Okay, so one offer is try it for 60 days. It's free. And
your internet's gone again. It's got I think the slides frozen as well.
Okay.
There you go. Got you again. You're back again.
Okay. Good. So risk-free 60 days for all TAM members, Accountants Mastermind groups. Now, but instead of having the one task, we actually offering 2. Right? So you can have a bot. So it's one bot, but it can do 2 different tasks. So one task could be bank reconciliation and the other task could be payroll. So happy to do that within the same 60-day period. Okay. And if within the 60 days someone signs up and says, we want this, you can actually have a full year for the price of 10. If that makes sense. I'll explain all that to you. I'll put all that in. So if you sign up for the trial today, you get 2 tasks. And if you do decide to go on and to select any of the packages, you can get 10 months for the price of, you can get 12 months for the price of 10.
Excellent. So but basically get 2 months free,
2 months
plus
free.
two lots of 60 days for free as well. Brilliant. So Mark has just popped in the chat box the URL for you to click. So if somebody, or when somebody clicks that link, what happens? Is that booking an appointment with you to have a further conversation about how it works?
Absolutely, Simon.
Kanayo?
So if you click on that, you'll book an appointment for us to kickstart the trial. So during that meeting, we'll look at your payroll or bank reconciliation, get a sense of the time, the return on time on your investment, how much time savings you'll get, essentially what capacity increase you can expect. And then once you've decided on that, we'll now take it from there. We'll walk through your process as I described earlier, and then we can have the bot up and running typically within 3 weeks.
Thank you. And then I'm just conscious of the time. We're at 10:26. I'm just conscious of the time. David, I've got your question obviously in the chat box. I'm running some maths as well, and I think it depends on what you count as a transaction as to whether those numbers work or not. And I just need to have a play with that as well. And where the technology is. For me, when I first saw it, and this is the third conversation I've had around this, I find it fascinating, and because of the newness of it, I'm talking personally now, Kanayo, because of the newness of it, is I was trying to get my head around it. But I do know several members of the community that are using it and think it's wonderful. So it's just provoking me a bit as well, David. So thank you for the questions. Jill has asked, how many different tasks can one robot perform?
That's a really good question. It's interesting, but one robot can perform as many tasks as it can within a 24-hour period. So it's less about how many tasks. So it can perform as many tasks as you want. The only limitation that you have is one, a robot can run multiple tasks concurrently. So it has to complete one task and move on to the next one. So the question really is, what do you need it to complete in a particular period? So if you take a scenario of 1 month, 22 working days, you have to, again, the same way you plan for an employee, plan for the bot in terms of, so you want it today to between 11 and 12 do bank reconciliation, between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. download information from this place. So you can do as many tasks as you want, and it can be, it just depends on your imagination, really.
Yeah.
So the time that you've got.
So it's basically one robot, and that robot can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's limited to the number of tasks that the robot can actually achieve in that 24-hour period. Yeah. So it's basically, as you see it working on the screen, it was ticking and pressing the OK, and obviously it's taking time to do that, but it's not about the robot. Am I also right in saying that the robot can do it can do, say, for example, you can program it to do, in this scenario that you've shared today, it could do the bank rec from, say, 2 o'clock until 4 o'clock in the morning. And then from 4 o'clock until 5 o'clock, it could do the MoneySoft transactions or tasks. So the same robot can move between different programs at different times of day, depending on how you've set it up.
Absolutely. So we have clients where it goes into Outlook, checks for particular emails that it needs to forward into Dext or what do you call it, auto HubDoc, and then later it goes into Zero to do some bank reconciliation. Once a month it does the payroll. Once a week it does another payroll cycle. Yeah. So all depends on, again, it's just planning the work. It's vast. And I think that's what makes this technology really good, is the fact that you can have the one robot that can perform multiple tasks. So if you think of it more in terms of having a data entry staff that's been trained to do multiple tasks. The principle is basically the same.
Thank you. So I've got a couple of questions on the 10:29. So we've got a minute left. Couple of questions from Lena. One, how would it reconcile? Where does it get the bank statements to? Where does it get bank statements to reconcile? Well, there would be a bank feed, Lena, in my mind. There would be a bank feed that imported those bank statements, or now talking out loud, potentially if you can't get a bank feed for whatever reason and you're getting bank statements from a client, the robot could actually import those bank statements into auto entry and yeah. And so you can basically any task where it's the same number of clicks each time, it will do it. And then Lena's also asked, what would be the charges for transactions above 20,000?
Is 5p.
It's 5p per transaction over the 20,000. Brilliant. Thank you. That's all let me just check that box and that box. That's all the questions. David's popped in that is very, very interesting and he needs to go. Mark's just popped the link in again to set up a conversation with Kanayo in order to progress it forward and talk about it. And as I say, I just think it's a really fascinating, when Paul posted it in the group, I think it's a really fascinating conversation to be had to see how it works. So that just leaves me to say thank you to everybody today that's come along. Let me just press that and get I can't do that now. Anyway, say thank you to everybody that's come along and asked the questions. We get lots of thank yous in the chat box. Thank you, Kanayo, for coming along and for sharing. That's all for now, and we will see you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye. 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 Thank you for watching this video with Kanayo from Sinnergy, where he showed us how to use robots to automate processes within your accountancy practice. As always, please remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel so you get notified the next time we upload videos. And if you have any comments or questions, if you post them below here, we will gladly answer them for you. On your screen now, you should see our next 2 videos that we suggest to inspire, challenge, and support you to run a better accountancy practice.